Welcome to Ask the Chiropractor. I'm Dr. Corey Rodnick, and this is my wife, Dr. Tony Rodnick.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here, and boy, I am impressed. This is our first show back since the flood when the studio had some damage, and I think it's very nice. They've made some really great upgrades. Our set looks wonderful, and I'm excited to be here again.
And our chairs are nicer.
Yeah, real comfy.
Ooh. Very exciting, and it is beautiful. It looks like they did a first-class job of it.
Definitely.
Very impressive. So it's been a while, like she said, and we're here at Ask the Chiropractor. We're going to talk about subluxations, which is primarily what chiropractors work on, and we're going to talk about a little bit about research today, and maybe we'll get into some, how you get subluxated. So we have some pictures that we're going to go over. So what is a subluxation? Let's start with that. Would you like to?
Well, a subluxation is what the chiropractor works with. They're bones out of place that put pressure on the nerve, causing the body not to function properly. A lot of times the bones subluxate and the body's able to correct it on its own, but when it becomes fixated, that's when the chiropractor helps remove the subluxation so that the body takes pressure off the nerves and the body can function more optimally.
So fixated would be stuck, so stuck in the wrong position.
Right.
And causing nerve interference.
And if it's stuck for a long time, the muscles get used to the wrong position, so it takes longer to correct the problem because the muscles are shortened on one side, lengthened on the other. We put the bone in place and the muscles pull it out.
So the longer it's been out, the longer it takes to fix.
Correct.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about a subluxation, that's just a bone out of place, putting pressure on nerves.
Correct.
Bone in, good. Bone out, bad. And so how would you get subluxated? What are some of the ways for that? There's lots and lots of ways.
Well, we say stresses cause subluxations. Stresses are good in the short run. Like if I'm in the jungle being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, I want to be able to run faster. I want to be able to see further. I don't want to worry about digesting my food. I want to go into the fight or flight. When you're in the fight or flight, we release all kinds of stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, and in the short run it's great. And then when the danger is away, when the danger goes away, we want to go back into the relaxed, feed and breathe, the parasympathetic. In our society, we're in a constant state of stress. We're stressed that aren't life-threatening. Can I keep my job? Can I pay my bills? Is my spouse faithful? So we're in a constant state of stress.
Did I shut the stove off?
Did I shut the stove off? Uh-oh, now you got me worried. Uh-oh, did I?
She's got that one.
So then the stresses that cause subluxations, we divide into three classes of stresses. We have the chemical, emotional, and physical stresses. So the chemical stresses are anything you eat, breathe, drink, take into your body. They can cause subluxations. In our society, we have a lot of unnatural foods, highly processed foods. So a lot of those can cause problems in the body. They can cause inflammation. They can cause the body will subluxate to try to correct problems that they cause.
But not barbecue potato chips.
Perhaps barbecue potato chips. Sorry
really?
About that.
Barbecue potato chips?
Yeah.
You're talking donuts?
Yeah, highly processed sugar products, definitely, yeah.
Frosted Flakes?
Maybe not those. No, definitely those.
Frosted Flakes too? Okay.
So chemical stresses.
A lot of our food is not quite right.
Right.
Okay.
So chemical stresses can cause subluxations. And then we have the emotional stresses. You know, you see people that hold their emotions in and tighten their muscles, but also the stress hormones that I was talking about, cortisol, adrenaline. So when you're under stress, they can cause subluxations. And the third class of stress that cause subluxations are physical. And that we divide into two classes of physical stresses. We have microtrauma and macrotrauma. The microtrauma are the small, everyday stresses. You don't know something's happening, and it can eventually affect the integrity of the spine. It's the mother that always carries the baby on one hip, or the purse on one shoulder, the factory worker that's always just turning one way, or the one-side activity like bowling or
golfing, tennis.
So those can cause subluxation. Oh, and the newest one, we have these little devices. we call them phones, and we're always hunching over and looking at them. We're tightening these muscles, stretching the muscles in the back, and it actually affects the integrity of the spine. We're seeing younger and younger people with reverse cervical curve. The curve should be a C-shaped curve in your neck. If the nose is facing that way, it should be like that. And we're seeing people with their spines actually stuck in the wrong position. And looking at the phones is one of the causes, or poor posture. Even our computers, like the laptops, they're not made for ergonomically correct positioning. We're hunched over, so our hands are on the keyboard and we can see the screen. Ideally, the computer should be at eye level or slightly higher.
So these are all different ways of getting subluxated. And did you go over the macro traumas then?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the macro traumas. So the macro traumas are the major events. 1 minute you're fine, the next minute you're not. It's the slip and falls, the car accidents that can cause major problems. Like in the car accident, your neck is often whiplash. It's forcibly pushed forward, ripping ligaments and tendons in the back, forcibly pulled back, ripping ligaments and tendons in the front. Often with a car accident, you end up with a reverse cervical curve. A lot of times it's in the C5, C6 area, which the nerves from there go down into the hands, so you might have tingling in your hands, numbness, tingling, things like that.
I know that lately I've had a lot of doctors sending us patients for analyzing just that. The ligaments that are, actually, do I have a post?
Yeah, you
do. So if we can cone down over here, this would be someone's head flying forward in a car accident and flying back over here in a car accident, or flying down the steps, or I'm sure, oh my God, this year I fell 4 times myself. I
think we should change this season from winter to fall, because we have so many people coming in after a fall.
Falling.
The ice under the snow is really dangerous and tricky.
So here you can see that the ligament was damaged, torn, from probably being bent down like this, and these ligaments in here also bent. So let's come back up to me again. So if I have my hand, if I bend it backwards, it can only bend so much. It's like a banana. If you start bending the banana backwards, and then the actual outside of the banana will eventually tear. So you can kind of see that by stretching this backwards. Eventually this overstretches, so it no longer goes back to its normal position. And like a rubber band that's been overstretched, or a hair tie that's been overstretched, never goes back to how it was. And we're analyzing that to see if there's ligament laxity, if there's damage in that area, and it's quite extensive. And
so is ligament laxity considered a permanent disability?
It is. It's a permanent disability by the impairment rating of the American Medical Association, and that's what we're doing. So it turns out for these auto accidents, it turns out to be a pretty big difference in normal just aches and pains. It's not quite losing an arm, but on the other hand, it is a permanent disability that's worth money to, if it's proven that it's there. Yeah, and that's just one of the many subluxations out there. And again, the falls this year, I've never had this many falls coming to the office. I've never fallen this much. Well, that's not true. Football, wrestling, you fall a lot more. But it's different. When I took judo, I would fall constantly.
But you're expecting it, too.
I was learning how to fall. But and thank God I did all that practice, because I definitely was doing some falling. So by having those subluxations is detrimental. What does it mean if you get subluxated? What's the big deal? let's go into that. How does that affect your life? So let's say you're subluxated and you just had an injury and you tore things and you're not realigning it properly and you leave it there. For every inch your head is forward,
Ideally, your ear should be over your shoulders.
and that's how you're supposed to be. So for every inch where your head goes forward,
You see these people with their heads way forward and not bent down, but the head is actually forward. The structure of the spine makes it move forward.
it adds a 10-pound weight to the middle of your neck. So it's going to tend to make that deteriorate at a much faster rate. When the curve is straight, it's 2 to 4 times the normal rate. And when it's reversed, it's 4 times the normal rate plus. So in other words, it could be like 6 times the normal rate. So in 10 years, you have a 60-year-old neck. How's that going to feel? Not good. It's going to, and also those nerves go to other places. So it might go down, nerves going to your shoulders, or it could be nerves going to, important organs, like heart and liver, or different organs they have different problems. And each nerve goes to different places. And you can look up anatomy charts or, well, they have all kinds of charts for that. And you can look at that and see which nerves go where. Just to briefly, these go to headaches, sinuses, allergies. These go to the middle of your neck. It goes to the shoulders, arms, hands, fingers. In other words, if you clip these nerves, your fingers don't move anymore, things like that. These are heart and lungs, stomach, kidneys, the sex organs, low back, legs, and feet. Down here is the order of how this whole thing goes. And depending on where you subluxate is
Kind of like a fuse box.
it's just like a fuse box. And if the fuse goes out in a certain area, you would expect problems in that area. And sometimes it's not a big deal. If it's the light going to the closet, who cares? It's a little inconvenient, but no big deal. But sometimes it goes to the refrigerator. And let's say the refrigerator's out. Is it a big deal if it's out for a day? Not at all. How about, a few hours? No big deal. How about a week?
It's going to be stinky.
How about a month?
Yeah.
You got to throw the whole refrigerator out. So that's how that works. And very uncomplicated. It's pretty common sense. It's not that complicated. And that's it. That's the whole, that's chiropractic in the nutshell there. So you want to talk about other ways?
Well, you were talking about degeneration. So once we reach a certain age, there's no circulation to the discs. The way we get nutrients in and waste out is through motion. And when they're fixated, subluxated, fixated, they don't move properly, so the discs start degenerating. So you actually see the discs get thinner. And that's
measurable. We can see that on a regular plain x-ray. You don't see the disc, but you see the disc space. So if the disc space is getting smaller, obviously the disc is getting dried up and spread out and degenerated.
And then the body, in its infinite wisdom, trying to protect it, just the same way if we're always using a screwdriver, we're going to get calluses. The body, to areas of stress, puts extra material, so we start getting spurs.
Yes.
So that's another sign of degeneration. We're getting like kind of like extra material, trying to protect the disc and hold it from having problems.
Most people could understand this very simply. If I misalign one of the tires in my car,
it's going to wear unevenly.
And it'll wear out faster than the other tires, to the point of I look at this beautiful new tires I bought, and one of them's got metal hanging out of it. And I go, how did that happen? It's because it misaligned, and it deteriorates at a much faster rate. Very similar to how the spine works. Like I'll see one spine looks perfect. I might have a 70-year-old person in there, and they look great. They look like a teenager's spine, except for a couple of spots. Or I'll see a teenager in a couple of spots where they're completely wore out. They look like they're 80. And that's how this works. And it's something we see on x-ray regularly. And yep. You want to add any more to that? I mean, I could talk for days on it.
No, I'm okay. It sounds like we got that pretty much covered.
Okay, so is there ways to detect this for the lay people out there, that they could see that maybe something's not quite right and should get checked?
Well, you can look at your posture or your loved one's posture, and if you notice any asymmetries, you can have them checked by a chiropractor. Ideally, the ear should be even, the shoulders should be even, the hip should be even, the knee should be even, the ankle should be even. From the side, you should see 3 curves.
Well, let's just go over that for a second.
Okay.
So if I'm looking at somebody and I notice that their shoulder one's way lower than the other, that would be,
A sign that they may have subluxations. The
Okay.
chiropractor can help.
or they always have their head tipped to one side. I see a lot of babies like that where mothers say there's something not quite right,
And in
or
babies,
they're not eating right, or they're, and it usually that's a quick fix, these little
yeah,
kids.
babies and
It's
young
amazing.
children,
Just, one,
they
two
heal,
adjustments,
they heal
it's
so
done.
much quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? How about one leg sticking out? Or you notice they're walking with their legs inward or outward, or especially when one's out and one's not out. Something obviously is wrong right away.
Right. Everything should be symmetrical when you look at it from the front to the back.
I mean, you don't want them walking straight ahead as kids, but a little out or a little in is okay, but not way out.
And not one in and one out.
That would be very peculiar, yes.
Yeah.
And usually you'll notice something like that after a couple of falls, in kids. In adults, you'll notice it. What's bad about the adults already is they start destroying their hip joints. So you get a lot of hip joints replaced because of the fact that their hips are not lined up properly, so they're walking unevenly and wearing out that joint so fast. But it happens.
Another sign that you might want to be checked by a chiropractor is if you have symptoms, either musculoskeletal, pains in your muscles.
Groin is a big one on the hip
the
joints.
the psoas, the hip
Here
joints,
and on the sides.
or even sometimes neurological problems like headaches would be a sign to go to a chiropractor and get checked.
Yeah, and that's important too. You want to go to the chiropractor first, unless it's already broken, then you go straight to the hospital. But I'm saying go to the chiropractor, see if that can be corrected chiropractically before having surgery, because
It's
once you
always
have
better to
surgery-
go non-invasive than it is to
Yeah.
be invasive.
Right, exactly that. And the chiropractor who you see, if it is that bad, he should refer you to your orthopedist at that point, which is totally normal to do that, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a case study, and I have glasses just for this, so bear with me.
This is a research case study done by a couple of our children while they were in chiropractic college.
Yes,
It's a
indeed.
peer-reviewed published case study.
A published case study, and it's about enuresis.
Which is bedwetting.
And so this child had bedwetting, and it talks about it.
How old was he?
11 years old. Kind of a problem.
That could have devastating effect on the child's self-esteem, on the family life, all kinds of problems.
The chiropractic care of the patient presented with nocturnal enuresis and attention problems were presented. There were significant decreases in episodes of bedwetting and marked increase in attentiveness. This is one of the few studies regarding chiropractic care and its effects on childhood bedwetting. More studies need to be performed in order to further explore chiropractic's role in the management of enuresis. And so this child had ADHD as well, which also improved. It talks about that it's a bigger problem than we think, affecting probably 10 to 20.4% of children up to 7 years old, with spontaneous cure rate of 15% per year. 2.3% of childhood bedwetters become adult bedwetters. Now that I didn't know. Bedwetting is extremely difficult. I mean, being a bedwetter as an adult has got to be pretty tough on you. it's tough as a kid, but tougher as an adult for both boys and girls. According to Butler, between 15 to 22% of boys and 7 to 15% of girls wet the bed at age 7, of the age reducing approximately, again, 1.2% in the later teenage years. Primarily, nocturnal enuresis is considered present when there is at least one wet night per month in a child over 5 years old, according to whatever. Nocturnal enuresis is considered a child age 5 years or more who wet their bed at least 2 nights a week. Not only is bedwetting hard to deal with for children, it's also families washing beds, linens, and etc. So this was a case study, and the result was more research needs to be done.
So what are you doing to make more research done right now? Is there
What am
anything-
I doing? I am on the, I became chairman of the research committee for the Michigan Association of Chiropractors, and I'm working right now with both the American Chiropractic Association and the International Chiropractic Association, and I'm trying to put all the ducks in a row to do a much broader study right now.
So this one was retrospective. They took a case, they went back, they looked at everything, and this new study that you're going to do, is it going to be prospective?
Well, if the college, I'm also working with the college. If the college wants it that way, I'll have to do whatever they say. I would like to make it where we tell everybody we're doing the study, bring your children in and do it from there. Yes, I would like it to be an active, ongoing research study over time, and then right now it's going to be mostly a Michigan study, and it's not going to happen all that quick. But a lot of work has been involved in this already because I've been working on this for years, and I would like to see. I would like a lot of, one group says, they would only like 10 chiropractors, but I want to get like 60 chiropractors, and I would like to have hundreds and hundreds of patients. And then I see this as a stepping stone to doing it more as an international type of project, as a study after this. And raising monies and all that stuff, I'm involved with that too, but yeah.
So it won't just be hearsay, I hear that we can help with this. That'll be proven.
It'll be, yes, it's a study that's done well and
peer-reviewed,
and I think that would be a great one. And
thank you for doing that. We need more research.
Thank you. That was nice of you. Thank you. I think research is the way to go here, because it does seem that whenever we do research that it does prove, and again, the developer of chiropractic, he was a big research guy, and he said,
BJ Palmer.
Yeah, he said, try to disprove chiropractic. I dare you, go for it. And that's what they were for years, doing all this research, and the research was phenomenal. And the involvement that this guy had was incredible. So he's the one who proved chiropractic. He's the one who developed it. That was B.J. Palmer. And it was a very peculiar family, though, so I don't want to individually what they were like. But, he was quite a guy, I understand. Quite a guy. The guy definitely, he also developed radio in our country.
And those cafeteria dishes where they have the different sections.
The dishes, that was his too. Oh, man. So, yes, he did like his peas mixed in with the corn and mixed in with the meat. And so he had those dishes that were separating, and he developed that as well. And pretty interesting guy. And again, chiropractic is really one of the safest, effective types of care out there, health care, and it really should be like a first thing you do. You know, and it should be more like exercise. Like I exercise to be healthy. I go to the chiropractor to be healthy. It shouldn't be like for all these injuries. It shouldn't be that's what it is, even though it is what it is to an extent now. But,
so if you get adjusted or treated by the chiropractor, when the problem first starts, when you have the slip and fall, you might prevent the problems because you're going to get the pressure off the nerves.
You're going to fix what you did
before the refrigerator starts rotting.
Right.
Before there's devastating effects in the
right.
future.
So probably what percentage of our practice? I don't know. Probably half of the practice is just for maintaining wellness and health, and then you have the other half that's all beat up and run over and fell down the stairs, and and then you have this percentage of like the bedwetting and that kind of a thing. You know, I see little babies, so on those instances, they're always going to be in the department of, you know, my baby's not working quite right here, something's not right. You know, or it won't stop crying, or
doesn't nurse correctly.
Doesn't
or
nurse,
only
yeah.
nurses on one side.
Yeah. And probably
it's
about, I
not
get
turning
about
its
4 or
head.
5 a year, the ones that have their neck stuck, the torticollis babies, or what would you call that, wry neck, or they call it just bad posture. But, you know, when the head's like that, and then after a while you'll notice that on these types of cases that they end up on one side of their head, it kind of peanuts. Like
It
starts
changes
to
the
dent.
shape. And,
to get the...
and sometimes the eyes actually develop uneven so that they're level with the horizon.
So that's why it does that peanut thing, is to level the eyeballs. The baby wants to have a level eyeballs, so it's stuck like this. So this side will peanut, and it'll bring that eye down. And that's kind of neat. That would be great studies too. One thing at a time, though.
Because when the baby's developing, little things like always having the head tipped one way can have major effects as it changes the structure of the body.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Unbelievable. And there's all kinds of instances like that. And again, research is, I think, the answer. So I'm working on getting this going.
With babies, another sign might be they're not meeting their milestones.
And I like babies, so to me, that's the way to go.
Because you correct the subluxation and they have immediate effects. You can see the changes more quickly.
And they're not lying about it. And they're not, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's just physical problem. And we look at it neurologically and correct it, and yeehaw. And I mean, how many times has this been seen? I remember Blue Cross did an audit on me, just a random audit, and one of the cases was that it was a child bedwetting. And they said to me, you know, we're not paying for that. And I said, what do you mean you're not paying? Of course you're going to pay for that. And they said, no, we don't pay for bedwetting to a chiropractor. And I said, yes, you do. And we went, and then the judge, it was on the judge, well, she was a judge, but
mediator.
It was the mediator for this case. And it was, I think I had 13 files. And one of them was brought up again. And she couldn't understand for the life, you know, how a chiropractor fixed bedwetting. And
but the nervous system controls and regulates every organ and tissue of the body.
It is what it is.
So if the nerves aren't functioning properly, wherever they go to might not be functioning properly.
Exactly. So here it was, and it was only, I think, one visit. I only adjusted this child once, and it was corrected in one visit.
In that study you were just looking at, they had 33 adjustments.
33.
But
it's not normal
the
to have
child
one
also
adjustment.
had attention
attention deficit disorder
problems.
And that improved too. But the thing is, whatever the situation is, again, children are a little faster than adults, but they're a lot faster. And this was a very young child that I'm referring to, and got better. And then, so at the end, Blue Cross ended up paying for it. But I'm just saying, I'm like, wow. And the magistrate wanted to have information on it. And so I even sent her Dear Abby, who was a very anti-chiropractic person in the past. But she said in her article, she said, I don't know what it is, but I've had countless letters from people saying that chiropractic help with bedwetting. Countless is how she put it. And she says, I can't say any more about it. That's, she's normally very negative. She was always very negative on chiropractic. And there she was. So I had her article, and I must have had maybe 50 different articles on that. So it's pretty prevalent. It's definitely out there. And they're just waiting for somebody to put it together. And I guess that supposedly is me now. Or I'll just be a small part of it. What am I talking about? Yeah. I have great people.
With the hospital, the schools helping with the statistics and the analysis.
Correct. And I'd love to get this to some of the bigger colleges like Michigan State or U of M and some of those involved. I know my son's working on one with manipulation under anesthesia. They're doing a research paper right now. We have 4 sons and a daughter.
And they're all chiropractors.
And yes. So 2 of our sons did this article and this research study. And we have other sons who are still doing more research out there. And I think it's great. I love it. I'm so proud of them. It's unbelievable.
I'm proud of them too.
Because it takes a little effort to stick yourself out there, and get shot at by the media, by the
insurance companies, like Blue Cross saying that you can't help with that.
But and it's amazing though how much, again, the medical profession has been backing us on a lot of stuff now. It's like it's changing quite a bit, which is wonderful, I think. I don't know what their thinking is other than, hey, if it works, let's do it.
Benefit of the patient.
That's the one. Benefit, putting the patient first. It's amazing. And that's what it always takes. For putting our little pettinesses aside. And the chiropractors were just as bad as the medical doctors when they're fighting each other. It's like they were both horrible. So it's really nice that everyone's being civilized. I like it. Anyway, as a matter of fact, a big referral source for me now is the medical profession. They're just referring to me tons of people, and it's wonderful.
It's great.
Yeah, I don't even know how to deal with it. I'm learning too, because I don't know, how to. I know one of them was complaining I'm not sending reports back to him to let him know how things are. And I was so embarrassed that actually happened. And I imagine I'm doing it all over the place. So I have to get way better at that. And thank you notes wouldn't hurt either.
And communication between the different doctors.
I have to communicate better because I guess I'm pretty terrible too. Learning. We're all learning. So I'm not sure how much time we have here. How we doing? You guys can't hear me? Okay, 10, 20, half hour?
10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes. So for our last 10 minutes. So I've been out since, 1983 as a chiropractor. Still doing it, still loving it. Have all these people telling me
Changing lives, positive effects on people.
I can't give it up. I have all my friends are saying, you should retire. And yes, I do take a few more vacations than I used to. I admit to that. But how do you give up something that you love so much? It's like, it's hard.
Well, they say if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life.
I'm
and that's
playing.
what chiropractic is.
I go in and play.
We change people's lives.
Having a ball doing it. Loving it. Loving it, loving it, loving it. And there's guys out there, 96 years old, still practicing. And yikes, huh? I'm just a young guy to those people. Right? And I just enjoy it. And just so if any of you people out there in the studio audience have any questions, you can write us at the office there. It's 4604 North Saginaw Road, Suite A, in Midland, Michigan. Suite A. If you don't put Suite A, I don't always get the mail.
48640.
48640. And you can write us, ask us any questions about any topics that have to do with chiropractic. Again, that's our specialty.
Or email. Let's get him out of this Stone
Age, yes.
Yeah, we have emails. Send it to Dr. Rodnick at charter.net.
But if you really want someone to answer it, send it to Tony Rodnick, Toni Rodnick, Rodnick, at gmail.com. And also they can look us up in the, what is that, our website, which is, I don't know.
www.rodnickchiropractic.com.
www.rodnickchiropractic.
There's 3 W's.
Okay, www.rodnickchiropractic.com. And also, that's it? Okay, that's the web? That's the web.
That's
okay.
Web.
Obviously, I'm not big on the web yet.
Like we said, we got to get him out of the Stone Age.
Totally in the Stone Age. But I did, for the research committee, start the whole committee now is on one. We can communicate to each other. So I had to get the home office to set that up with me. But very cool. That's out of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
That's right. Anyway, so what else can we talk about? Do you have a few things you want to say before we head out of here?
So we're talking about chiropractic, children, not just bedwetting, changes all kinds of things.
So God gave you the gift of life, and what you do with that life is your gift back to God. And we'll see you guys next month on Ask the Chiropractor. Love and appreciate all of you, and this was fun. Welcome back to MCTV, and thank you very much for having us. Hey, baby. All right.
Welcome back to Ask the Chiropractor. I'm Dr. Toni Rodnick, and we're going to talk about some exercises and some different aspects of health. So chiropractic is just one of what we call the 5 aspects of health, the 5 pillars of health. We say the dream. If you want to live the dream life, you got to follow the dream. So we call the 5 aspects DREAM. D is for diet. You want to eat healthy. I mean, any of these topics we could go a whole show on. I'm just going to briefly talk about it. R is rest. All kinds of studies on sleep deprivation, how that can affect your health and healing. E is for exercise. Exercise does all kinds of good things. Cardiovascular exercise is good for the heart and lungs. Weight-bearing exercises are good for the bones. Good for the joints. We're going to do some posture exercises in a minute. A is attitude. Again, there's all kinds of studies on how positive mental attitude can affect your health and healing. And the M is for maintenance of the spine. So chiropractic is one of what we consider the 5 pillars of health. And so we're going to go over some posture exercises that will help strengthen your spine, help you correct your subluxations, and aid in the correction of your spinal integrity. So these are called the Flying Friends. So the first one we call the Eagle. You're going to start out in a nice inner winter posture. You want to stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. Tighten your core muscles, your abdominal muscles, and you want to, as you take a deep breath in, you want to bring your arms up and bring your head back. And you just want to stretch and just open up all those joints. And just hold it there. And then breathe out. And do it again. Take a deep breath in. Tip your head up. Bring your arms up and just open up the joints. And then breathe out and relax. You want to do that 2 or 3 times. You want to do it a couple of times a day. Another name for these exercises I'm giving you, we call them spinal hygiene exercises. So we suggest you do it when you do your dental hygiene. Just a couple extra minutes in the morning can make all the difference. The second one we call the hummingbird. Again, you want to start in a nice inner winter posture, feet shoulder width apart, tighten your abdominals, bring your arms up, you want backward circles with your shoulders. And when you do this, you want to focus on the space between your shoulder blades. And just make backward circles. And we can do it to the side, tip to one side, just hits the muscles differently, some of the different muscles. And if we want everything symmetrical, unless when we look at your x-rays, we say you should only do one way. So we want you to do it the other way too. And again, just do this a couple of minutes. This kind of offsets that texting where we're tightening these muscles and stretching the muscles in the back. Here we're tightening the muscles in the back and stretching the muscles in the front. And then the third exercise we call the butterfly. This one you want to put your hands behind your head, but you're not going to push with your hands. You want to take a deep breath in and push your head back. And you hold it there and breathe out and relax. And then do it again. Take a deep breath in. Push your head back. You should be feeling this in the muscles in the back of your neck. Breathe out and relax. So we're strengthening the muscles in the back of the neck, trying to help them put the curve back in the neck. Another way of doing this exercise is when you're in the car, if you stop at a red light, don't do it while you're driving. Push your head back into the headrest. You get the resistance. You're not tempted to look up and back. You just push it straight back because the motion is straight back. Again, these are just nice, gentle spinal exercises to help with the correction of your spine, especially when you're under chiropractic care that's helping remove the subluxations. We're strengthening the muscles, helping maintain the correct position. It's been a pleasure being here this month. Again, it's been a long time. Welcome back. And like my husband said, God's gift to you is life. What you do with your life is your gift back to Him. It takes a little extra effort to do healthy habits and maintain a healthy lifestyle, but it definitely is worth it. When you get older and you've maintained your health, you'll say, I'm glad I did. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure, and good night.